welcome back, YouTubers. I know it's been a while since you've seen this face on my channel. Now that I've got this blow-through carburetor pretty much figured out.
Flashback.
I was not expecting that.
End of flashback.
Still a couple of things I'm working out, but overall it's pretty darn good. I figured I would just offer my insight into tuning your blow-through carburetor and what I've learned throughout my journey. Let's get started. Okay, so number one, before you even think about tuning your carburetor, the one thing that I've learned about blow-through carburetors is your fuel system, especially when you're on E85, because it requires a lot more fuel. I'm going to say, if you're going to do anything with E85, and I'll just let you know, it's super easy to make power on boosts. Dual needle and seat fuel bowls. This is a CSU carburetor that Kevin put together. It has been great. He has a different power valve than everything you see on Amazon with a check ball. It has a diaphragm, and it has more of a needle type of a check valve in there, and a spring. So if you look right here, you can see, since it's a diaphragm, he puts like a little weeping hole, I guess, so that diaphragm breaks in to relieve pressure. I have an eliminator fuel pump. I have 10 lines coming in. I have this A2000 regulator. You don't want to do a log to each fuel bowl. You need to come right off your regulator directly into your bowls. Now, unfortunately, they don't make this dual needle and seat fuel bowl with a crossover tube. All the ones that I've seen recently are 2 feeds. So you're going to have 4 lines going to your carburetor now, unless you get one used. I actually talked to a gentleman. He's going to send me one of these older fuel bowls with dual needle seats for a great price. When I get those, I'm going to do one more thing I think you guys are going to like. I'm going to take this 950 NA E85 carburetor, and for my buddy's car, we are going to convert this ourselves over to a blow-through E85 carburetor. And the reason why we're not just going out and buying one for his car is because of this reason. To get my truck to the point that it is today, it took me a little over 2 years to scrounge up the money and to get all this working. And my buddy, he just spent quite a while scrounging up parts himself to pull out his Hertz small block and put a big block in his car. It's a budget big block, but we all know nothing nowadays is actually budget. So what we're going to do, our best, is to get his big block set up on boosts with the bare minimum money. But we also, there's a couple of things, like I said before, you have to do certain things correctly so that way your motor is going to survive and not go super lean, and then you hurt your whole investment because you tried to skimp out on very critical parts. Now, one thing I think is critical is your ignition system. I went a little overkill. I opted to go with the grid setup, and I'm using a boost module for my map sensor. You definitely want something that's going to be able to read manifold, vacuum, and boost, because you're going to have to pull timing, and it's very critical that you don't get scared under light loads to give it a good bit of timing, more than you think you need for drivability. So I'm going to tell you what my base timing is on my setup. I'm running around 16, 17 PSI on the blower. My base timing for just cruise and before it hits any boost is 40 degrees of timing. I had it 39, I moved it up to 40 degrees. But when it comes under load, it'll jump back down to 38 degrees, and then from 38 degrees, at least on my setup, you always want to look at your plugs, listen to your motor, don't listen to what anyone else says, listen to your motor, look at your plugs, look at your tune-up. But my plugs told me from 38 degrees under load, I'm pulling 1 degree of timing out per pound of boost. And everything seems hunky-dory and the motor is working just fine. Okay, so your vent tubes are also important. But some guys get away with not running the vent tubes. The vent tubes, all they do is they add added signal to your carburetor, and you put them in the airstream. It'll help pressurize the bowls to make the signal stronger to deliver more fuel. That's basically what your vent tubes do. Where they're at, how long they are, is all going to be a recipe that's going to work with your setup. None of these puzzles are put together the same. So you can see mine kind of goes like this on there, right? Let me see if I can't get it on there. We'll just leave it hanging for right now. Well, that's horrible, right? Where are we at? Where are we at? It's hard to just one-handed. Let me see. There we go. All right, so mine sits about like that. So as boost builds, it pressurizes your hat, and those vent tubes help pressurize your bowls. Now, as your bowls pressurize, you have your boost reference regulator. And this, for your regulator, must come off the hat because it needs to see boost immediately. Because if your blades are closed and when you open them up, it's going to take a minute for your intake to pressurize, and you're going to have a lean condition. It's going to fall on its face, and then it's going to go. So it needs to immediately see the same pressure that your supercharger or turbos are delivering to your carburetor. And as boost builds, it has to overcome that boost pressure. Because if you have like only 6 psi of fuel pressure and you're making 8 psi of boost, you're going to starve your motor of fuel because it's not going to be able to push the fuel into your bowls because it doesn't have enough pressure to overcome the pressure that your turbo is putting out. You're basically adding atmospheric pressure. So you have to overcome that pressure inside your system. That's how that works. Now, so your blow-off valve and your map sensor need to be on your manifold, your intake manifold, to see manifold air pressure and manifold vacuum. Because when your blades are closed and this guy is going to be open, it's going to relieve the pressure whenever your blades are closed. Because if not, then this guy is going to surge. It's going to be ramming a whole bunch of like boosted air in there and your blades are closed. It's just not a good thing. So when you're off the throttle, you need to be able to relieve that pressure in your system when it's not needed. So that's how that works. So this guy and your map sensor come off the manifold. Your regulator comes off the hat because it needs to see signal exactly as the boost enters the top of your carburetor. I won't really get into the high speed and low speed air bleeds. I think what a ballpark number that everyone runs to have like 21 thousandths on the high speed, and they have around like 45 to 50 thousandths on the low speed. That's kind of the ballpark. Your carburetor might be different. Now, one thing that I know a lot of carb builders do, it didn't work on mine, on ethanol that is, there is a check needle in here, right? Most builders with ethanol, they take them out. And the reason why they take them out, and I understand why they take them out, is because a lot of people aren't very good in their maintenance. And it doesn't take much for that check needle to get stuck, and then there's no fuel when you're hitting your accelerator pump, and these guys start to bend. So if you're gonna put that in there, you better be on your maintenance. Mine, I had to put my little check needle in there because it had a horrible tip-in lean hit. But once I put that check needle in there, it solved my issue. Now, another thing too is, as your bowls are getting pressurized, you're going to have 2 power valves. Some people run just 1, I guess if you're not making that much horsepower. But like I said, it's super easy to make horsepower on boost, and it's super easy to keep adding boost. So if you're going to do it, just go ahead and get everything you need so you're not going lean and hurting your motor one day when you decide to turn it up. So as pressure builds, let me back up a little bit. So when you're running around and there's no boost, you're just running around NA basically, and you're just running off of your main jets. And all that is set up the exact same way as you're running a NA carburetor. But that's the beauty of the boost reference power valve. It goes in the back of here. And this is the front, this is the rear. The rear, as you see, it needs to have extensions because your fuel on the rear is going to go to the back of the bowl. You don't need them on the front because the fuel is going to go towards the front bowl. And you'll get the fuel to your jetting just fine. So as boost builds up, now where they come in is going to be based on your stall, your gearing, the weight of your vehicle, whatever your setup wants. That's always going to be different. But you want the front to come in first, and you want the rear to come in afterwards. And the reason why is because you have progressive linkage, right? You're just driving around on the front. See the front? At first. But then when you crack into it, your rear opens. So you're going to be driving around your front, and then when you start rolling into it and boost starts to build, this little check valve is going to open, let fuel out here, go into your power valve restriction channels, this guy right here, and then it's going to go right into your main wells and out to your boosters. So it's adding extra enrichment. And you notice, at least on some of them, they'll have 10-30 seconds on both holes. On the one I have, the top's not adjustable, but the bottom is. So you can put different size 10-30 seconds in here to give it more or less fuel. Same thing with the rear. So getting your timing with all that is super critical. And that's, like I said, a lot of pieces to the puzzle, but that's how that works right there. And just like your NA carburetor, you're going to have these cams right here, which depresses your accelerator pump and it sends fuel to your squirters. Let me take this hat off. These squirters right here. Now getting these guys set up from the front to the rear so that way your motor doesn't go lean or go fat off the hit, that's another tuning avenue that you're just going to have to play with. I can't tell you what to use on your motor. You're just going to have to experiment with different size discharge nozzles, different size cams. You can even flip these cams upside down to give it more tip in. You can grind them down. I got plenty of videos on that. And when everything is tied together and it's working correctly for your boost, your gearing, your fueling, it's pretty magical.